Welcome to this lecture on organic chemistry. Today, we are going to explore a fundamental concept known as reactivity versus selectivity in the halogenation of alkanes. If you have ever wondered why some chemical reactions produce a single pure product while others result in a messy mixture of different compounds, you are in the right place. We will build this understanding from the ground up, so let us dive right in. To understand how chemical reagents behave, imagine you are starving after a 3-day hike. If someone offers you a massive buffet, you will grab the very first thing you see, whether it is a dry cracker or a gourmet steak. Because you are highly reactive and hungry, you are not selective at all. Now imagine you just ate a large meal. If offered the exact same buffet, you will carefully look around and pick only your absolute favorite dessert. Because you are less reactive, you are highly selective. In organic chemistry, chemical reagents behave exactly the same way when they attack molecules. Now that we understand the intuitive analogy, let us look at the formal definition in the context of aliphatic hydrocarbons. Reactivity refers to how fast and vigorously a chemical species, like a halogen radical, reacts with an alkane. Selectivity is the degree to which that reagent prefers to break one specific type of carbon-hydrogen bond over another. Alkanes have primary, secondary, and tertiary hydrogens. A highly reactive reagent, like the chlorine radical, reacts so quickly it does not distinguish between these, leading to a messy mixture. A less reactive reagent, like the bromine radical, reacts slowly and carefully, preferring the weakest bond. As reactivity increases, selectivity decreases. This inverse relationship leads us to an important question. Why does this matter in the real world? Understanding this delicate balance is absolutely crucial for organic synthesis and industrial chemical manufacturing. When chemists design a life-saving drug or a new plastic, they want one specific target molecule, not a messy soup of 10 different side products. If a reaction is too reactive and not selective, the factory wastes massive amounts of time and money separating the desired product from unwanted chemical garbage. By choosing a less reactive but highly selective reagent, like bromine instead of chlorine, chemists guarantee the reaction yields almost entirely the specific product they need. Before we move on to predicting actual reaction outcomes, let us look at the mathematical representation of yield. To predict exactly how much of each product we will get, we use a simple formula based on probability and chemical preference. The formula is Y sub I equals N sub I times R sub I. Here, Y sub I represents the relative yield of a specific isomeric product. The variable N sub I is the statistical probability factor, which is simply the number of equivalent hydrogen atoms available to be attacked. Finally, R sub I is the relative reactivity factor of the reagent toward that specific type of hydrogen bond. If either the number of available targets or the chemical preference increases, the relative yield goes up. Now that we have calculated the relative yield, we need to convert it into a percentage to understand the final product mixture. The formula for percentage yield is P sub I equals Y sub I divided by the sum of all Y sub I, all multiplied by 100. In this equation, P sub I stands for the percentage yield of our specific product. The numerator, Y sub I, is the relative yield we just calculated. The denominator, the sum of Y sub I, represents the total relative yield of all possible products formed in the reaction. By taking the part we care about and dividing it by the total whole, we find the final percentage. A higher relative yield means the percentage approaches 100%, indicating high selectivity. Let us see this formula in action with a concrete example, the chlorination of propane at room temperature. We are given that propane has two types of hydrogens, and the experimental relative reactivity of a chlorine radical toward primary, secondary, and tertiary hydrogens is roughly 1 is to 3.8 is to 5. We want to predict the major product and calculate the percentage yield. First, we identify the targets. Propane has 6 primary hydrogens on the ends and 2 secondary hydrogens in the middle. We calculate the relative yield for the primary product, 1-chloropropene, by multiplying the 6 primary hydrogens by the relative reactivity factor of 1.0. This gives us a relative yield score of 6.0 for the primary position. Continuing with our chlorination example, we now need to find the relative yield for the secondary product, which is 2-chloropropane. We multiply the 2 secondary hydrogens by the chlorine relative reactivity factor of 3.8 for secondary bonds. This multiplication gives us a relative yield score of 7.6 for the secondary position. Next, we add the relative yield of the primary product and the secondary product together to find the total yield score. Adding 6.0 and 7.6 gives us a total of 13.6. This total score represents the entire mixture of products formed in the reaction, and we will use it as our denominator to find the final percentages. Now we will calculate the final percentage yields for the chlorination of propane. We divide the primary relative yield of 6.0 by the total yield of 13.6 and multiply by 100. This tells us that 1-chloropropane makes up 44% of the final product mixture. Next, we divide the secondary relative yield of 7.6 by the total yield, multiplying by 100, which gives us 56% for 2-chloropropane. Physically, this means chlorination is very messy and unselective. Because chlorine is so reactive, it produces a nearly half-and-half mixture of products, making it a poor choice for selective synthesis. Now let us perform the exact same reaction but using bromine gas instead of chlorine gas to see how a less reactive reagent changes the outcome. The experimental relative reactivity of a bromine radical toward primary, secondary and tertiary hydrogens is roughly 1 to 82 to 1600. We want to find the percentage yields of 1-bromopropane and 2-bromopropane. The number of primary and secondary hydrogens in propane remains 6 and 2, respectively. We calculate the relative yield for the primary product by multiplying the 6 primary hydrogens by the bromine relative reactivity factor of 1.0. The relative yield score for the primary position remains 6.0, just like in chlorination. Continuing with the bromination example, we calculate the relative yield for the secondary product, 2-bromopropane. We multiply the 2 secondary hydrogens by the massive bromine relative reactivity factor of 82. This multiplication gives us a huge relative yield score of 164 for the secondary position. Next, we add the primary and secondary relative yields together to get the total yield score. Adding 6.0 and 164 gives us a total score of 170. Notice how this total is heavily dominated by the secondary product's contribution. We will use this new total to find the final percentages. Let us find the final percentage yields for bromination. We divide the primary relative yield of 6.0 by the total yield of 170 and multiply by 100. The result shows that 1-bromopropane makes up only 3.5% of the final mixture. Next, we divide the secondary relative yield of 164 by the total yield and multiply by 100. The result is 96.5%, meaning 2-bromopropane is the overwhelming major product. Physically, this proves that because bromine is less reactive, it is incredibly selective. It waits patiently to attack the weaker secondary carbon-hydrogen bond, giving us a very pure final product. To visualize why bromine is so much more selective than chlorine, let us look at the energy profile of halogenation. On the vertical axis, we have potential energy, and on the horizontal axis, the reaction coordinate. Notice the two pathways. The blue curve represents the highly reactive chlorine radical. It has a very small activation energy difference between attacking a primary versus a secondary hydrogen, leading to a messy mixture. The red curve represents the less reactive bromine radical. It has a much larger activation energy overall and, crucially, a large energy difference between the two transition states. This forces bromine to be highly selective, strongly preferring the lower energy path to form the secondary product. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the key takeaways. The reactivity-selectivity principle is a beautiful illustration of chemical patience. Highly reactive species, like chlorine radicals, have low activation energies. They rush into reactions and grab whatever hydrogen is statistically most available, leading to poor selectivity. On the other hand, less reactive species, like bromine radicals, have higher activation energies. They are forced to be picky and only attack the weakest, most stable bonds. By understanding this fundamental trade-off, chemists can deliberately choose the right halogen to control the outcome of a reaction, ensuring they get exactly the molecule they desire. Great job following along with these concepts.